Kael loved his village, Oakhaven. It was more than just a place to live. It was the heart of his world. He knew every cobblestone, every winding path, every friendly face that greeted him each morning. A quiet place nestled among green hills and whispering willows. The willows, ancient and wise, seemed to guard the village, their leaves rustling secrets to the wind. They stood as silent sentinels watching over generations of Oakhaven's inhabitants. Life was simple, a tapestry woven with the threads of daily routines and shared experiences. Each day unfolded with a comforting predictability, a rhythm that resonated with the soul of the village. Helping Alara, the blacksmith, in her forge, the clang of hammer on steel a constant reassuring sound in Kael's life. The forge was a place of warmth and creation, where raw materials were transformed into tools and weapons. Fetching water, chopping wood, tasks that connected him to the land and the needs of his community. These were not chores, but acts of love, contributing to the well-being of Oakhaven, and listening to her tales of dragons and heroes. Alara's stories were more than just entertainment. They were lessons in courage, resilience, and the importance of standing up for what is right. Alara was more than a mentor, she was family, a strong and steady presence in his life, offering guidance and unwavering support. She filled a void, becoming the anchor Kael desperately needed, teaching Kael not just the craft of metal, but the patience and precision required to master any skill. She showed him how to coax the metal to his will, shaping it with fire and strength. But the meaning of courage and honor, she instilled in him a deep sense of responsibility, teaching him that true strength lies not just in physical power, but in moral fortitude. Kael often gazed at the distant Dragon's Tooth Mountains, their jagged peaks piercing the sky, beckoning him with their silent challenge. They represented the unknown, the promise of something more. Dreaming of adventure beyond the village, he imagined himself scaling those peaks, facing mythical beasts and discovering hidden treasures. Yet Oakhaven's true heart was its people, a community bound together by shared history and mutual support. They were the foundation upon which Kael's world was built, sharing laughter, bread and traditions. Festivals were a riot of color and music, celebrations of the seasons and the enduring spirit of Oakhaven. Children played in the square, their joyful shouts echoing through the village, a constant reminder of the hope for the future. And the scent of fresh bread mingled with wood smoke, a comforting aroma that permeated every corner of Oakhaven. It was the smell of home, of safety, of belonging. Kael felt safe, cocooned in belonging. He knew he could always count on his neighbors, his friends, his family in Oakhaven, but beneath the peace, he yearned for something more, a purpose, a challenge, a chance to prove himself, a destiny beyond the village. He felt a pull towards the unknown, a whisper in his heart urging him to seek his own path. He didn't know that destiny would soon arrive, shattering everything. The shadows were gathering, unseen, unheard, but inexorably drawing closer. For now he was just a boy, dreaming by the forge, unaware of the storm that was about to break. The village's peace was deep, its rhythm comforting, a lullaby that soothed the soul. That peace would make the coming horror all the more devastating, a stark contrast that would forever be etched in Kael's memory. Oakhaven's tranquility was about to be torn apart, its idyllic existence shattered by forces beyond their comprehension. The night began like any other, stars scattered across the sky, the moon casting silver shadows. Kael, drifting to sleep, was jolted awake by a guttural growl. Unnatural, wrong. The village dogs whimpered, fear thick in the air. Suddenly, a monstrous shape blotted out the stars, a hollowborn, straight from Alara's darkest tales. Its eyes glowed sickly green, promising destruction. A screech shattered, the night panic erupted. Villagers fled or fought, but farming tools were useless against the creature's shadowy might. Flames erupted as the hollowborn tore through homes, chaos and terror spreading. Kael, frozen, watched his world unravel. The monster moved with terrifying grace, smashing walls, tossing aside carts. Jolted by a nearby explosion, Kael scrambled from his bed. He had to find Alara, he had to do something. But what could a boy do against such horror? The sounds of battle and screams etched themselves into his memory. Oakhaven, his sanctuary, was becoming a nightmare. The village was lost to fire and shadow. Amid the chaos, Kael saw Alara, her hammer raised, her face set with fierce resolve. She rallied the villagers, guiding them toward safety, a beacon of courage in the darkness. The hollowborn turned its gaze on her, shrieking as it charged. Alara met the monster head-on, swinging her hammer with all her strength. She struck its leg, buying precious seconds for others to escape. The fight was brutal. Alara, mortal but unyielding, dodged and struck, her hammer a blur. Kael saw her wounded, but she rose again, eyes blazing. The creature lunged. Alara saw Kael, frozen nearby. In a heartbeat, she shoved him aside. "Run! Kael, live!" Kael stumbled away just as the Hollowborn's claws descended. Alara shielded him, her sacrifice sealing his escape. A terrible silence followed. Kael, sobbing, ran as she commanded her final look burning in his soul. He left behind everything he had ever known. Alara's stand became his memory's fire. The village was lost, but her courage endured. Kael ran into the unknown. Dawn revealed Oakhaven's ruins. Smoke, silence, and loss. Kael, numb with grief, wandered the wreckage, drawn to Alara's damaged forge. Amidst the ash and ruin, a faint hum called to him. In the cold hearth, a single ember glowed, unlike any he'd seen. He reached out, expecting pain, but felt a profound warmth instead. The ember flared, ancient and powerful, its light defying the desolation. As Kael closed his hand around it, the world shimmered and faded. The ruins vanished. He was no longer alone with his sorrow. The ember's warmth filled him, a silent promise. The forge, once a place of learning, became a gateway. Kael's grief was joined by something new, a sense of purpose. The ember was more than fire, it was a call. The world around him shifted, reality bending. Kael was about to discover the true nature of the ember. His journey was only beginning. The ancient forge, a place of creation and warmth, vanished as if it were nothing more than a dream. Kael found himself standing in a vast, echoing cavern, a space so immense it dwarfed him. The air hung heavy with the scent of stone and something else, something ancient and powerful. The ember's warmth pulsed within his chest, a comforting beacon in the overwhelming darkness. It felt like a heartbeat, a steady rhythm connecting him to something far greater than himself. Before him, a colossal dragon emerged from the shadows, a being of immense scale and presence. Its form was wreathed in darkness, yet its power was palpable, radiating outwards like heat from a forge. Its golden eyes, ancient and wise, burned with an inner fire, molten gold reflecting eons of history and untold secrets. They seemed to pierce through him, seeing not just his surface, but the very core of his being. The dragon's thoughts filled Kael's mind, bypassing words, speaking directly to his soul. "Little spark, you have suffered much, more than any child should. The world teeters on the brink, darkness seeks to devour all light, to extinguish every flame of hope and plunge everything into eternal night." The dragon shared a prophecy, a vision of a desperate future, when hope dwindles to a spark, when all seems lost, a son of the forge touched by ancient fire will carry the dawn, will rise to meet the darkness and bring forth a new age. You, Kael, are that spark, the ember that can ignite a revolution, the flame that can banish the shadows. The Hollowborn are only the beginning. A greater blight is coming, a force of unimaginable power that threatens to consume everything. You must journey to Kingsfall, a city steeped in history and legend, a place where destinies are forged and battles are won, where iron sleeps, waiting to be awakened, and courage wakes, ready to face the ultimate test. There, you will find those who resist, those who still cling to hope in the face of despair, those who are willing to fight for a better future. The dragon's fire lives on in you, a legacy of power and responsibility, a burning flame that will guide your path. The vision faded, the dragon's presence receded, leaving Kael alone once more. Kael found himself back in the ruined forge, the devastation a stark reminder of the darkness that had consumed his home. He held a warm stone in his palm, a tangible piece of the dragon's power, a symbol of the journey ahead. The prophecy and responsibility settled on him, a weight he now carried not just for himself, but for the entire world. A heavy, hopeful weight, the burden of destiny tempered by the promise of a brighter future. Alara's sacrifice and the dragon's words became his guide, the compass that would lead him through the darkness. Kael was no longer just a boy, lost and alone. He was the spark of hope, the son of the forge, the one who would carry the dawn. Kael clutched the ember stone, its surface warm against his palm. It pulsed with a faint inner light, a beacon in the encroaching darkness. He closed his eyes for a moment, focusing on the energy thrumming within the stone. The dragon's words echoed in his mind, resonating with a power that shook him to his core. Kingsfall. The name hung in the air, heavy with sorrow and the weight of forgotten glory. The thought of the fallen capital filled him with dread, a vision of shattered towers and silent streets haunting his waking hours. It was a graveyard of dreams, a monument to the Hollowborn's victory. But Alara's sacrifice burned in his memory. a fierce and unwavering flame that refused to be extinguished by despair. He remembered her smile, her courage, and the promise he made to honor her memory. He couldn't let her death be in vain. He owed it to her, to everyone who had suffered, to fight back against the encroaching darkness. The prophecy offered a path where iron sleeps and courage wakes, a glimmer of hope in a world consumed by shadow, a chance to reclaim what was lost. Kael realized he wasn't alone. Others were fighting, scattered embers of resistance refusing to be snuffed out. They were whispers in the dark, waiting for a spark to ignite them into a roaring flame. The Emberstone felt like a part of him, an extension of his own will and determination. A connection to something vast, something ancient and powerful that resonated with the very fabric of the world. Even the Hollowborn could be hurt, even darkness could be challenged, a revelation that fueled his resolve. They were not invincible, not unstoppable. He had to try, for Alara, for Oakhaven, for the future that had been stolen from them. He would fight to reclaim it, to build a world where hope could flourish once more. With resolve, Kael decided, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. He would go to Kingsfall and find the resistance, the scattered remnants of a once proud army. He packed what little he could salvage, the meager possessions that represented his past life. Food, water, a blanket, the bare necessities for survival in a world ravaged by war. He tied the Emberstone to his belt, its warmth steady against his skin, a constant reminder of the power he now wielded. Taking one last look at his ruined home, the skeletal remains of Oakhaven etched against the horizon, he whispered goodbye, a silent promise to return and rebuild. Then, Kael set out on the perilous road, destiny igniting with every step, each footfall echoing with the weight of his decision. The journey would be dangerous, fraught with peril, but he was no longer running from his fears. He was moving toward hope, toward a future where light could pierce the darkness. The spark had become a flame, a beacon of defiance against the encroaching shadows. Kael's journey to Kingsfall revealed a world in ruin. Fields withered, villages deserted, fear everywhere. Grim soldiers patrolled, their banners marked by a cruel sigil. Kael learned to hide, moving like a shadow. After days of travel, he saw Kingsfall, a city of smoke and broken walls, its glory lost. The old banners were gone, replaced by the enemy's mark. Oppression hung heavy, the city suffocated under enemy rule. Kael slipped through a broken wall, heart pounding. The grand avenues were patrolled by cruel soldiers. Marketplaces were empty, citizens fearful. The city's colors were muted, hope nearly extinguished. Kael remembered the dragon's words, where iron sleeps and courage wakes. He listened for rumors, learning of a resistance hiding in the catacombs. Whispers of defiance gave him hope. The catacombs would be his next destination. The whispers of resistance grew as Kael searched the city's shadows. Seeking information was dangerous, but Alara's memory and the prophecy drove him on. The resistance struck like ghosts, symbols of hope for the oppressed. Kael watched, waited, and followed the Emberstone's subtle guidance. One evening, he found a hidden symbol, a coiled serpent, marking a secret entrance. He pressed the stone, a hidden stairway opened. Heart pounding, Kael descended into darkness. The passage led to a torchlit cavern, voices echoing in the gloom. There, armed and wary, stood the resistance. Kael had found them at last. The spark had reached the heart of rebellion. The resistance turned, weapons raised as Kael entered their sanctuary. He stood, dusty and alone, clutching the Emberstone. Its glow brightened, casting hope into the cavern. "My name is Kael," he said. "My village was destroyed by a Hollowborn. Alara saved me." He told them of her sacrifice, the dragon's vision, and the prophecy. Some doubted, but others listened, hope flickering in their eyes. An older woman stepped forward, drawn to the glowing stone. The ember's light resonated with the cavern, a silent promise. Kael saw the same fire in their eyes that Alara had shown. He realized he had found his place. The fight ahead would be perilous, but he was no longer alone. Kael, touched by ancient fire, was ready to stand with them. The spark of hope was now aflame, ready to ignite the dawn.